Good morning, everybody. We are live here on Writer Wednesday again. Quarantine week 3, I think. I don't even know. I've lost count because my days blur together on best of days. So, best of weeks, best of days, whichever, they all blur. It's a blurry mess. So, hopefully, everybody is doing well considering the situation that we are under right now. And my goodness, it's definitely been an interesting event here. So, even though many of us writers who do write from home are kind of used to that. If you work from home as well, people think that, well, you must be used to it. This whole situation is just normal. It's just a normal day. And for the most part, I would say yes, that is the case. But I will tell you, when you have all of the kids and now you're dealing with them either being bored or trying to get the homeschooling stuff done, or I'm lucky that Colin is actually working on helping the kids with the homeschooling stuff. Good morning, David. Good to see you here. But it is still weird because there's a lot more noise than normal, and there's a lot more commotion. There's a lot more bandwidth from the internet being stolen, dang children. So there's a lot of like little weird things that you wouldn't think are a big deal until you're actually dealing with it and doing it on a daily basis. Plus, I think when you don't have that couple minutes of escape to not have to deal with children for a little bit, it gets to be a bit much, but we're all surviving so far. Hopefully you are as well. So today I wanted to talk really briefly about moving on to your next books. Like, when do you know you're ready? Because sometimes when you're brand new, you're not quite sure where that line is, and then as you move on and start trying to incorporate the whole rapid release scenario, how do you know then that it's time to move on to the next book? Because sometimes when you're working on that first one, you don't know when it's supposed to end because you're not quite sure how the story itself is supposed to go yet. And so the good news is, when you're doing rapid release, if you're doing it right, you should always know when it's time to move on to the next book. And the reason for that is because you're going to be planning for it. And you're going to have a system down that helps you to not only write your story, but to outline it and to understand the entire arc and to be able to get the whole story out. Hopefully, I don't know how you write, but I write sequentially, so maybe you write by bouncing from scene to scene. Regardless of how you write, you're going to have it mapped out and planned out in advance. So you're going to know when all of those scenes are filled out, you're done. And now it's time to give it over to your ARC team, your beta readers, alpha readers, crit partners, whoever. And once that's gone, because rapid release works best as a series, you're going to be moving on to the next book, whether it's a long tail, never ending story type situation, or whether it's a limited edition, limited number of books, you're going to be moving on to the next one. I know for me, I will usually dive straight into the next one if I can help it. I know certain authors will take a week, have like a mini vacation from writing. I don't tend to do that, especially if my books have a continuation, because otherwise I forget what I was doing. I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot going on. And so if I have a space between that's too far, I will forget what I was doing. And so then I would have to go back and reread everything. So now I have to start again and then move back forward, move forward from that. And so it's not impossible, obviously. I've done it before in the past. I've had to go back and read things and get back into my grounded self so that I know what I'm doing as I move forward. And you probably will too. But it always works best when you don't have to, when you're able to just move straight into the next one, because your brain's already in it. You're already engaged with the storyline and the characters and everything else that's running for you. But it's also a way to be able to keep that momentum up. So if you're trying to do rapid release, one of the tips that I do have is to be thinking well in advance of the type of lead distance you want to give yourself, whether it's a series or whether it's a limited number of books in a series, or whether it's that continuation series. Because I see a lot of authors, and I've worked with a lot of authors who are rapid releasing, but they're doing it where they write and then they release it, and then they write and then they release it. And what happens when you're in that mindset, they get really frazzled. And if they get frazzled, now writer's block comes up. And if writer's block comes up, then they get really, really frazzled because now their books aren't coming out in the manner in which that they've promised to the readers and things like that. And so it becomes this cycle of almost anxiety and burnout. And guys, writing is supposed to be fun. This whole system and the whole concept of writing your novels and trying to earn a living from it, as much as it's also a business, it's meant to be fun. And so you want to build into your rapid release scenario a lead up. You want to, I know it kind of sucks before you publish the series, but you're going to want to write minimum, I would say 3 books, and then do it so that you have that lead up before you start the whole rapid release process. So have those books written, have them ready to go, and once they start dropping, you're actually working on book 7, 8, 9 or more down the road when book 1 is launching, because that way you always have that like breathing room gap. Life happens. Look at what happened right now. I mean, did anyone think that we're going to be under a global pandemic where we're all quarantined to our houses? I'll bet you not. Although it was kind of interesting, we were looking at this whole situation back in December, and I remember thinking, what is going on here? Because it's not crazy, but here we are anyway. So I'm guessing there's more to it than what we are being told, but we'll see. We'll see what's happening. So if you have situations that are going to come up, let's say you want to go to a wedding or go on a vacation, or you have kids who are homesick, or whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you are putting into your schedule enough space where you're not going to get frazzled and not get really anxious about all the things that you're trying to accomplish. Because, like I said, this is meant to be fun, guys. And when you're doing that consistently, you are always going to know when it's time to work on the next book, whether it's book 2, whether it's book 10, whatever the case might be. You're going to get faster at your story arc. You're going to get faster at writing the overall story itself. So don't feel like when you're in your first book, it's going to be this way forever. Because when I was writing Pandamus, I'll tell you, it was so strange because I was writing that book thinking I love the world and I love the story, but I wasn't sure what kind of story it was. I wasn't sure when it ended. I wasn't sure what the whole thing was. And it wasn't until after I was finished that I was able to figure out what kind of story arc it was and what it was that I was trying to accomplish with my characters. And so I was able to clean it up and get everything kind of locked down in that way. Then when I worked on the next 2, I did the rapid release. I wrote it in November all the way to the end of February. That was both books, and launched them both at the end of the year. It was still a lead up, but I wasn't realizing it was rapid release so much at the time because I was doing a lot of the marketing stuff and I was just prepping for it. And I wasn't writing, which is the key. So once I was finished in February, I wasn't writing into the next books yet. I was prepping for the launches. And knowing what I know now, what I would have been doing is going into writing whatever the next thing was, because that would have given me more of an advance on Oracle or on any of the other books that I wanted to end up writing and publishing after that. So lesson learned for me, when I'm done with the Windhaven Witches series, I will be diving straight into the next big thing that I'm going to be working on for 2021. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. Hopefully, David, that makes sense to you as well. And if you have any questions on what I mean by this, just let me know. But I do go into a little bit more detail into today's podcast, or so if you go out to authorrevolution.org/23, it is going to be out there. And it's also on iTunes and Spotify and all that good fun stuff. So, all right, I'm going to go and try to get some writing done. It is going to be a fun day for me because I'm going to be working on Soul Legacy. And I'm also going to be working on Module 2 of Rapid Release Roadmap to get it finished, hopefully, cross my fingers. So if you are a Rapid Release Roadmap subscriber/student, be on the lookout for Module 2 being dropped. The only thing that will not be going out is the videos, because it gets a little too crazy hectic in here. Unless I'm going to start staying up until midnight and doing it when everyone else is like gone away and asleep. Maybe I'll have to do that. I don't know. Goodness only knows how long this quarantine is going to last and happen, and oh goodness. So, all right. Well, have a great rest of the day, guys, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.